mentioned that Muslim women are most oftentimes the burden bearers of shame. Describe what you mean by that.
Well, in a grossly generalized way, because you can't put any people group or person in a box because then you'll meet someone who breaks the box.
Right.
We're all unique individuals, okay? Saying that, though, in a very general sense, in in honor shame cultures, women are the honor burden bearers and men are the honor guards.
Mm,
And for the first 10, 12 years of life, women are highly responsible to teach children what the rules are, what the honor rules are, and how to maintain that. But then once they become adolescents, the boys and young men become those honor guards. Again, back to our terrible example of an older brother who might commit an honor killing of his younger sister. He's doing his duty, and in that way, we see both the men and the women on level ground, in a sense, in need of salvation, because no worldview, no set of man made rules can redeem another soul.
mm.
They're all infallible. They're all fallible. Um, they're all broken.
And they are. And you mentioned another thing when you mentioned that the women are the burden bearers and the men are the honor guards. As soon as you said that, I had a trigger in my mind. I remember it's not in a Muslim culture, but an Indian one, where there was a young woman who was on a bus coming home from a movie at night with a man who was kind of acting as her guardian, who was a friend of hers. And there were other men on the bus, and they ended up basically assaulting him, beating him up, and then they habitually raped her until she was basically killed. I mean, she was killed. She was thrown off the bus. They were tried. It was horrific. I mean, horrific, horrific. But I remember hearing one of the men basically testify that the man couldn't protect her. It was their fault, and she should have never been out that in that night anyway. Almost like she got what she deserved. What kind of mindset? I mean, that's in many ways still within the honor shame culture, but it's so not only abhorrent, but so far away from our understanding of it. But what can create that mindset where a man can say that that's okay? I mean, that someone deserved it because the guardian didn't protect her the way that he should have. Can you just elaborate or help us try to understand? And I know it's outside of your cultural context specifically, but I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong, some of those same rules and mindsets are found in that same idea. And I'm sure you've probably seen something like that in your own the cultural context in which you've served. But elaborate on that if you would.
Yes, and you are right. The a lot of the quote unquote rules of honor shame worldview cultures are similar, and well, there are some complex things happening in that story, in that true story, true terrible story, and it's not only her being with a male guardian. We don't know what his relationship was to her. If he was not a brother or a father, um, then she shouldn't have. He wouldn't have qualified often as the ultimate honor guard. Maybe those local people knew that he was just a male friend who was older and felt that that didn't have enough clout. We don't know. I'm speculating. Another aspect to this is the time of day. This was at night, and generally speaking, women reputable, honorable, quote unquote, women do not go out at night unless they are going to a family event, like in some cultures, the weddings are all night long.
Mm,
So, so it opens them. The mindset is that this opens them for more harassment. They're bringing it on themselves. I remember the first time I overheard a a genuine conversation blaming a woman for sexual assault. I was in the afternoon at tea time with some friends of mine in their home. We'd all thrown off our hijabs and we were wearing our pajamas, sitting around, hanging out, drinking tea, eating cake, eating olives, having a great time. And they began to tell the story that a few days earlier, a young woman had been on the bus and they used their hands to indicate she was wearing a sleeveless shirt. Her neckline was lower, and she was sexually assaulted. And then
Mhm.
they continued, and this is all women, to explain how, well, it was totally her fault. She shouldn't have been wearing those clothes. And I jumped in because they were close friends of mine, and I was close enough to them that I could be myself and be honest and 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 direct. And I said, how can you say that? It was the responsibility of those men. They made the choice to do that, to harm her. And they said, well, you just don't understand because you're a conservative. You're an honorable woman. Because I always covered. I wore all of the clothing covered in all of the places I needed to be covered when I was always in public. And so they said, you don't understand because you're an honorable woman. You would never open yourself up to this. And I tell this story to bring us back to the idea of legalistic rules. There are rules you follow. Every society has them.
Mhm.
They're different in different places, but the rules are you cover from here to here, the wrists, the neck, you cover all the parts. If you don't, you break the rules, you put yourself in a vulnerable position, and anything
Mhm.
might happen. You could have made a different choice, and it wouldn't have happened to you. It
S-
communicates so much more than just an individual's taste in what they decided to wear that day.
So, and I'm still trying to understand this, wrap my head around it. So these women are saying that she got what she deserved because she put herself in a situation of tempting someone. Is that it? Or bringing dishonor to the family? Therefore, she had to be brought back in. Is that how the mindset is?
Yes, and they may not, I mean, we can't speak for what their ultimate thoughts were, that they thought she needed to be brought back in, but that is mainly the idea. There is, if you don't follow the rules, then you are putting yourself in a vulnerable position. But it's not only society rules, it's also religious rules, religious teaching that you as a woman are the temptress. You are the one responsible to protect men from their own passions. Bless their hearts.